This is the first time in my life that I've been provoked to hit a woman.
You gotta be kidding me! How did he do it?
Now, if there's anything Death Note fans remember vividly about the series, it's arguably the most tragic and innocent character shown in the main cast, Misa Amane. She's a super hot emo model who completely unprovoked wants to pull Light's meat.
Can I get to the camps?
This all happening mainly because Light unintentionally fulfilled one of her greatest wishes by smoking the man responsible for unaliving both her parents. This caused her to become a devout supporter and follower of Kira. And after stumbling across her own Death Note and making a deal with Rem for the Shinigami Eyes, she chooses to spend the rest of her time living being used by Light. And before you weirdos try to justify Light by saying she knew what she was getting into, keep in mind that during the entirety of this time, Misa is actually genuinely in love with Light, and he is aware of this. I'd argue knowing someone in her position was as infatuated with him as she was, and choosing to use her as a pawn to his own advantage is quite a wicked display of personality. But not only does Light take advantage of Misa's affection by forcing her to write names for him and making her take responsibility for his crime, he was literally ready to off her ass over any minor inconvenience.
This chicken is cold.
Now granted, you may bring up characters like Takeda and say that Light did them worse, but in response to that, I'd say that Misa definitely endured suffering at the hands of Light way longer. In the end, both met untimely ends at the hands of the selfishness of Light Yagami.
But I'm not done yet.
Obviously, I could mention more, but this video truthfully would never end. So in short, he's scum and I don't know why y'all be simping over him. On to our final and most unhonorable MC mentioned in the entire list. The one who deserves it. Makoto from School Days. Now, School Days itself is generally considered to be one of, if not the most hated anime of all time. And regardless of whether you share that assessment, in my mind there is no debating that this guy is the most hated MC. And believe me, Makoto is nowhere near as innocent as he appears. Don't worry, I'll explain how. So much like Light, this guy actually doesn't start out too unlikable either, as School Days starts out like relatively any other romance series, with this dipshit on a train stumbling across his next victim, a wonderfully beautiful and innocent girl by the name of Kotonoha. She's the only redeeming factor to this series, by the way. He decides that he wants to go out with her, and once another one of his classmates, Sakai, gets wind of this, she inserts herself into the situation by deciding she'll play matchmaker for the two. Translation, she wants to bang him. Eventually, this leads to Makoto and Sakai having quote-unquote lessons on the school rooftop where they practice kissing and going on dates, which eventually just turns into them flat out banging on the roof. Meanwhile, this scumbag continues to date Kotonoha while she's completely oblivious and still head over heels in love with him, as he is slowly losing interest. That's arguably awful enough, but you couldn't possibly do anything worse than that, right?
Nope.
If you thought so, you'd be so incredibly wrong. Makoto then decides to complicate the situation even further by not only refusing to break off things with Kotonoha, but by choosing to start ignoring her completely. Then this guy starts banging even more random classmates. We get to see an additional total 4 girls in Makoto's class that he bangs outside of his love triangle with Kotonoha and Sakai, with there being even more that he's implied to have seen off screen.
You're a slut, you're a slut, you're a slut. Everybody should know that.
Kotonoha then catches Makoto cheating on her several different times, even being subjected to bullying at the hands of her other classmates who have already figured out what's going on. So while Makoto is busy getting his rocks off with everyone else in his grade, Kotonoha is left wallowing in feelings of inadequacy and uncertainty as she slowly starts to lose her mind.
It's really not that deep, really not that deep.
Don't worry, it gets darker. So Makoto makes sure to put up another 3,000 points on the board for the City Boys by dragging on both Sakai and Kotonoha, banging everything else of interest to him and casting both of them to the side. He, to no surprise, leads them to their own turmoil and then finds out that shockingly, Sakai is now pregnant. She ends up screaming the news at Makoto in front of all his other hoes in class, telling him that he needs to take responsibility for his actions and raise their child, which causes him to lose every single last one of them. Due to the realization that he's no longer getting any play, Makoto gets a newfound sense of clarity and decides that he had a real, genuine love with none other than Kotonoha,
BFFR,
the woman he actively sought out to be with yet decided to step out on in the first place. So he begs for her forgiveness and asks her to take him back, which he does. And what about Sakai, you ask? Oh yeah, he tells her he knows of good hospitals for her to go to.
It ain't mine. Girl, I wrapped it up. That's how I know you lie.
Sakai doesn't take too kindly to this development, obviously, and decides to handle things by putting Makoto in a pack. Albeit shocking and completely out of tone for the rest of the anime up to this point, I personally find this to be the most satisfying moment in the series. Never anywhere else have I seen an anime drastically make me hate the main character with every new episode as much as here. This guy clearly displayed no no remorse for his actions, allowing his own perversion and deviance to destroy all the people around him without regard for any of their lives or feelings. In a similar fashion to Light, Makoto seems to view people in a very narcissistic, detached lens where they exist solely for his benefit. Only he doesn't have the corruption of a supernatural notebook to explain his behavior. He's just a sociopath. Some of you would argue that the fate he received was undeserved, and to that I'd say karma exists. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Make me sick, nigga.
So those are the 3 I felt most worthy of covering in this video. Honestly, only 2 genuinely deserve to be on the list, and I could have went way more into detail. So if you enjoy listening to this video and are interested in potentially seeing another one in the future, covering more of anime's most hated MCs, or if you like a story time about the time Death Note almost got me expelled, make sure to leave a like on this video, hit the subscribe button, and comment letting me know which characters you'd like to see. Thank you so much for such a beautiful first 6 months on YouTube, and know there's much more content, development, and success coming from this channel in 2023. Wishing all you nerds and anime fans out there a wonderful year. Sun God signing off.
I come in clutch like a genie. Don't talk unless you need me. You talk too much, you need it. All of my bitches look like models. She in love with me.